Hey there folks, Nick here. Welcome back to Ashes Cricket. Welcome back to another voiceover video. Obviously, we're still watching videos where my microphone wasn't working, so guess what? More Reddit stories. So we're going to have a few stories today from r/PettyRevenge. This first one comes from Reddit user Satan is the Savior. Not really a great revenge, but it did wind up the cashier quite a bit. So, I went to a fast food joint, which I will call Burger Prince for anonymity, to get a chicken sandwich. They had a special version called a crisp tender. Again, anonymity. It was actually called a crisp tender bacon cheddar ranch, apparently. And it quickly became my go-to comfort meal. This special had since ended though. Instead of telling me politely, the cashier was all smug about it, as if not having that particular sandwich would ruin my day. Indeed, my day was thoroughly ruined, having been denied my favourite deep-fried poultry sandwich. A real power move on her part, but I had an ace up my sleeve. Alright, can I just get a regular crisp tender instead? But can you put ranch dressing on it? And can you add cheddar cheese and bacon? Awesome, thanks. The cashier, for whatever reason, was too dumb to notice what I'd done. And after receiving my food, I thanked her for serving me the discontinued sandwich. She went completely red, seeing her pitiful attempt at a power trip foiled. I made sure to eat it within sight of the register's true, being comforted by the cashier staring daggers at me the whole time. It was easily the pettiest and tastiest meal I ever had there. Our next story for today comes from Reddit user Rana06 and is titled Chemistry Teacher Hates Crutches. So, I went to a high school where the upperclassmen went to a separate building from the 9th and 10th graders. I moved into the school district after my freshman year from a different state, so I took all my classes out of order. I also broke my leg, in winter, in Pennsylvania. In short, I had a walk that was 5 or 6 minutes when you weren't on crutches, which was just barely doable for most students. It was obviously late. I was obviously late a lot to this chemistry class. The teacher would constantly write me up, make snide comments, and actually follow up with my other teachers that I left when I said I did. Other students hated her. I later found out most of the faculty despised her as well because she was as nasty to them as she was to her students. Thankfully, at my old school, I had an introduction to chemistry, so I was able to pass the class despite her lack of teaching, but she did her best to make my life hell. Anyway, shortly after I got off crutches and just had a boot on, she broke her leg. Now this teacher is constantly late to class, can't do demonstrations, and still a giant bitch. But importantly for my story, she could no longer inventory or check the chemicals in the adjacent stockroom, and I could get to class almost on time. So she continues to be awful and miss the irony of her situation. So the last day of school I leave my previous class early. I spent 6 or 7 minutes in the back room, which she was not supposed to leave unlocked, and took the label gun I had brought and began retyping and peeling off labels on all the chemicals. Fast forward to next year, and the people I know in the grade below me said all her experiments failed / were wrong, and the labs didn't work. Nothing major like a fire or anything, although she did ruin several beakers and a desk. But enough that the administration finally took notice. She retired the year after that, and I like to think I had a small part in that. Addendum, she delighted in failing students, and several of them had meetings with the principal, who in not so many words stated he knew she was crap but couldn't do anything to her due to her tenure or unions or something. Being in high school at the time, I'm a little sketchy on those details, but she was not a good teacher and was very petty. Good story, actually. That's the sort of thing that I would have probably done as a revenge for that. Not dangerous. I mean, potentially it could be, depending on which chemicals you mixed up. But, you know, not overly dangerous, not overtly dangerous, but just a bit of revenge. And she lost her job, which is kind of relevant, because she was a crap teacher.
Oh, super shot.
Our next story for today, and this is a long one. Wow, it's like 2 pages long. This one is submitted by Reddit user burner_whatever, and is titled, Butter Me Up, Lead Me On, Then Ghost Me? Get ready for the petty. A year ago, I matched with someone on Tinder about 6 or 7 years older than me. He seemed like a dream. He said he lived upstate, but he was planning to visit and ultimately relocate to the city. We were talking on the phone for weeks, and I emphasised what a big deal this was for me. He was the first person to ever treat me like a girlfriend. The conversations were intimate, and seemed like the real thing, and I was coming from a place of long-standing mistrust in boys and men due to various life events, which I hinted at with him, but avoided major detail. He assured me that he would never do anything to hurt me. He also repeatedly told me I was beautiful and looked exactly like Fiona from Shameless. Haha. I don't think I had a reason to doubt him. Maybe this is it and I am really worth it? Until through his older brother's Facebook account, I found out he had a son. He had neglected to mention this important detail entirely. He had told me about his mum and brothers, and I was curious about his family, so upon casually profile hopping after sending him a friend request, I found a picture of him holding a baby with the caption, "Dear brother, douche-lord," and his son, Chris. The date of the picture was 2009, so the son was now elementary aged. While on the phone a few times after that, I tried to drop hints, but he wouldn't take the bait. Things like, yeah, I love kids, but I don't think I want any of my own since I've always been independent. Finally, one evening, I asked via text if I could call him and talk to him about something serious. Yes, of course. I loved talking to you. I could never be mad at you. I admitted what I'd found. I was still so flawed and flustered that I started crying over the phone, apologising that I violated his privacy. I'd also been panicking that maybe something horrible had happened to Chris when he was really young, and that's why he didn't mention it. But Douchelord cheerfully explained that he gets alive and well 9-year-old Chris every other weekend describing him and his hobbies. He didn't sound sorry at all for having hidden this information, nor did he explain why. Being a naive and hopeful person, I learned it from my innocent and overly altruistic, optimistic mum. I originally figured he was too scared to tell potential matches. Maybe some people had dismissed him too soon without giving him a real chance after finding out he has a son. He then told me he thought I'd be really good with him because I'm nice and used to work with kids. Well, okay, bro, why didn't you tell me? He also said things like, "You're smart. I'm really impressed you found out. Now that you know, I can accept your Facebook friend request." This creeps me out now, but, you know, love goggles. I didn't even realise my thinking was off. I was willing to let it go and accept Chris. I grew to like the idea of it as time went by, which I made clear. And I showed interest in Chris's school life. When I finally met Douchelord in person, things went really well. We spent a nice day together, eating, talking, and walking around the city. Maybe he'd just been too nervous to tell me. But we'd cleared the air, and that was that. Nobody's perfect, right? I'm sure not. We also made more plans to visit each other and discussed his moving agenda. It seemed solid, until his text responses got more blasé and brief. Then he was gone. I asked if everything was alright, if I did something, etc. No answer. I was crying by myself for days. I had no idea what I did, if anything. We'd been talking on the phone for nearly a month, so he had ample time to change his mind without getting in so deep. He knew what I looked like, and my friends confirmed that my pictures were accurate reflections of real-life me. I replayed everything in my mind over and over and over again. I'd also realised I'd gotten excited about meeting and hanging out with Chris. I eventually realised he butted me up just to screw with an easy, inexperienced target. He probably thought it was a game, and just got tired of playing. So I did a little more digging. I found a young woman, with his last name, on LinkedIn, who works at his company, and his last name was not generic like Smith or Collins. I confronted him about that by text, and asked if he was married this whole time. No answer. He'd originally told me he'd never been married, at least not to Chris's biological mum. Then the pettiness began. I messaged this girl privately and apologetically if she is married to Douchelord. She responded gently with something like, "Hey, we've been divorced for about a year. I hardly ever use LinkedIn, so I totally forgot to change my name on there. I'm sorry for the confusion. You have nothing to feel bad about." I replied, "Thanks, that really helps a lot." She went back to her maiden name on LinkedIn shortly after. I tried to confront him one more time. No answer. Then I finally said, "Well, at least X was nice enough to explain that you're divorced when I thought you were still married." That's when the typing dots showed up. He started writing angry and defensive shit about how he's a changed man, and that I had no right to contact her. I said, I can politely ask someone if they're married, since I'd never knowingly abet cheating. And it wasn't hard to believe, since you hid Chris too. I was satisfied that this royally pissed him off. Wah, wah, wah. She doesn't know me anymore. He then accused me of not really having contacted her, so I sent him a screenshot of her polite answer on Messenger to prove it, and rub it in his face a bit. And then kept ranting about how I went too far, but I said, "You're the one who deliberately wasted my time in the first place. No justification for pursuing me at all." After every response, he kept saying, "Please do not reach out to anyone I'm connected to, thank you." He finally threatened to call the authorities on me, but my response was just lol, and that was the end of it. I could sense he had no idea how to respond to the lol, and quit trying to defend himself. Then a while later, I spammed his work email with porn sign-ups, with account usernames like Cock Yogurt Lover, Deadbeat Father, and Butt Pirate 69. I googled every porn site I could find, like Pornhub, RedTube, YouPorn, YouJizz, and some gay meetup sites where I indicated that he's a bottom who likes it raw with strangers. I also found out he has a criminal record. He's white AF, so we know he actually did commit at least one real crime, which wasn't specified. I'm not sure I understand that. Since I find that info on My Life and in Tellius, where you can leave reviews of people, I described all his lying, sociopathic bullshits in the public comments section. Then I put his phone number on Craigslist, advertising his Ducati for $500. I still think about Chris on occasion, and I hope he doesn't adopt any of Douche Lord's crappy qualities. I hope his mother and stepfather are much better influences on him. That was, I don't know, like, I feel like signing someone up to a whole bunch of porn sites and stuff, that's not very bad revenge. Putting him on gay sites, all he has to do is hit the unsubscribe button at the bottom of an email, so it's not like you're really putting him out that hard. You haven't lost him his job or anything. I'm a bit disappointed by this one. But speaking of subscribing, why haven't you subscribed? Hit that subscribe button. We're a bit over 70 now. Looking to try and get to 100 by the end of March. Not long to go. Yeah. See if you can help me out. Hit that subscribe button. And our final story for today comes from Reddit user Petite Baguette and is titled, "Kid in my class makes fun of my friend. My friend exposes him in a discreet way." Now before reading, a little bit of background. I'm just going to say this is not as bad as other stories here, but I think this is an entertaining story I could share. So we've got a couple of names in here. We've got an annoying kid who is referred to as AK. And AK was in my language class, and he sat behind me next to my friend who's just going to be referred to as F. F was a nice kid, good grades, well-mannered, etc., but people would make fun of him for his big nose. This annoying kid in particular would make fun of it and call it a penis. People used to find it hilarious, but now it's genuinely annoying to everyone, and he still thinks it's funny. About a month ago, we were given whiteboards to write answers on and show the teacher. In our school, we used to have a main teacher who we would meet up with in the mornings and afternoons, and this teacher used to be mine the year before. I'm guessing that sounds like a homeroom teacher. That's what we call them here in Australia. Or hang on, pastoral care? Maybe that's what we call it. We called it homeroom at school. Crucial thing about her, she gave no shits. Back to the annoying kid. On the whiteboards we were given, the annoying kid kept drawing dicks on his board with too much detail, even little pubes, intentionally for only my friend to see. I could tell my friend was getting a bit frustrated, considering this kind of thing had been happening since the beginning of the year. The annoying kid did this for a third of the lesson, but it ended in an amazing way. When the teacher asked a question to the class, something about Spain, and the annoying kid was still holding the dick drawn on whiteboard, my friend did something great. He shot up his hand as if he was going to answer the question, but while doing it, purposefully hit the whiteboard out of the annoying kid's hands, while shooting his hand up. Friend hit the board upwards and it hit the floor and slid to the other table. The teacher, being a good teacher, but also probably suspicious why he still had his whiteboard out, went over to pick it up and gaze at the drawing. The drawing was a face with a hairy penis instead of a nose. After 5 seconds straight of the teacher staring with a confused but angry face, the annoying kid sunk into his seat. From what I remember, he got detention for a while. I'm not too sure how long, but it was enough for him to stop. I asked my friend about it afterwards, and he said he did it on purpose, and he felt like the Grinch in the scene when he has the big smile. Good story. Not dangerous, not annoying, not destructive, just delightful, petty revenge. I love it. Anyway, that's the last story for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you think of the gameplay in the background. Hopefully soon we'll have the microphone fixed and I'll be able to chat to you during game. But until then, I hope you're enjoying these Reddit stories. If you are, don't forget to hit like, Smash subscribe and leave me a comment. Tell me what Reddit stories you'd like to hear on any other videos that I make that unfortunately don't have a commentary running along with them. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.
Cheers, club.